Hey there, happy day. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. How to carry the ball to supersize and grow your business. The expression carry the ball, of course, comes from ball sports, primarily football, so it reminds me of my friend JJ. And it means, of course, to be in charge or to be responsible, to make sure that the job gets done and it gets done right? So even though this comes from ball games and football, primarily because the person on the field with the ball is the most important person in the game at that moment, right? I absolutely positively, because they determine and control the direction the game's going to go. Are they going to shoot it downfield or throw it downfield or pass or whatever? Obviously, I don't know much about ball sports except for tennis, volleying back and forth. My ball game personal experiences are very, very limited. But carrying the ball, whoever's got the ball determines the direction that the game is going to go very, very often, at least at the instant that they are in control of the ball. So we think, how does this apply to our businesses? How does this apply to our lives? Well, carrying the ball is all about responsibility, right? And making sure that the job gets done. So how do we carry the ball in our organizations to make sure that they go in the direction we want them to? In several ways. As leaders, as the figurehead or the leader of our organizations, it is up to us to lead those organizations. It's up to us to set direction, set the vision for everyone else in the organization. That is our responsibility. That is us carrying the ball and showing people the direction that we expect everything and the organization to go. Good leaders, good managers, good CEOs carry the ball and control it when it's appropriate, but they also set their people up for success by knowing when to pass the ball, when to let other people learn and grow and lead and develop within that organization. We carry the ball by knowing that in our organization and in our business, we are ultimately responsible for everything and everyone that happens in that. Now, that doesn't alleviate other people like our managers from being responsible for their behaviors and actions, but it means that whatever they do, we are ultimately responsible for. We see that in lawsuits against big corporations all the time, sexual harassment suits, wrongful death or damage or harm to people, suits where the CEO, even financial failures. We see that where ultimately the person that we try to have, there's always this placing the blame and scapegoats, but ultimately the person that's in charge of that organization who should have known that something was happening in their organization is held accountable and responsible. That's why, CEOs go to jail sometimes or lose their jobs, because they should have known what was going on in their organization. Now, realistically, if you have 80,000 people in your business and in your company, do you know what all 80,000 of those people are doing? I always thought this was interesting when I was in corporate, because I did pay attention and made sure that the culture and everything that was going on in my part of that organization was taken care of. But there were scandals and things that happened in other areas of the businesses that I was involved in sometimes. And it's like the CEO, ultimately, the owner of the business, was ultimately held accountable and responsible for that and for carrying the ball, whether they knew about it or not, if they should have known. The law says if you should have known. So we have to be ultimately responsible, lead our organization when appropriate, set the direction and the vision for people, but also set them up for success. Make sure that we allow them to lead and carry the ball sometimes. We allow them to, especially in their area of genius, we always want to be using all of our resources wisely to grow and build our businesses. And I will say till the day I die, the most important resource of any organization, any business, anything is the human beings that are a part of that organization. Human beings are the only resource that has infinite potential, right? We have the ability to expand and grow infinitely, and there isn't another resource. Time can't do that. Money can't do that. Raw materials can't do that. The only resource I know of in an organization that can do that, including you and me, are the human resources. So I love this expression. I love this carry the ball expression, and since I've got my granddaughter's unicorn poop here as my ball for an example today, it just goes to show you that balls can take any shape, or, well, they're usually round, right? But except footballs, they're not round. But it's up to us to take personal responsibility and to be the example in our organization for how we expect people to behave. Businesses that struggle often have leaders that struggle. Our businesses will only grow and expand to the level that we are willing to allow them to. And sometimes that means we pass the ball off to someone else and we get the heck out of the way because we're not the best person to take our business to the next level. That's a really painful discovery sometimes. At least it has been for me when I realized that, yeah, I'm not the best person to continue in this particular job. In corporate America, one of my last jobs in corporate America, the business that got sold to another company. And even if I had been invited to stay, which I definitely wasn't, because for lots of reasons, but primarily because I made as much as my entire team combined, so it made sense business-wise for me to leave. But I wouldn't necessarily have wanted to stay because the organization that was buying the business that I was in was very different culturally than the business that I was working in. And so I probably wouldn't have fit very well or been very happy in that organization. And that's some of the signs and some of us being personally responsible, knowing when it's time for us to make a change, knowing when it's time for us to carry the ball in our own life in a different direction or to pass the ball in a different direction. You know, these idioms are interesting because they don't just apply to our businesses, right? And some of them I have to actually make a pretty big stretch to fit them to businesses and growing our business. But they all apply to our life, right? And maybe not our life personally, but somebody else very close to us, usually somebody that we've interacted with. I'm sure my dad taught my sisters and I that we needed to carry the ball. We needed to be responsible. We needed to be leaders. We needed to set the example. We needed to do the best we could. We needed to continually improve. And I thank him for that. That meant he was an awesome parent and an awesome father in that he carried the ball for us when he needed to, but he also passed the ball and made us be personally responsible for the things that we could as we became more and more capable of carrying that ball and taking on our own things. So I'd love to know what you think about this idiom, carry the ball, and what your experiences have been with it. And we've all had bosses that are over controlling and carry the ball too much and don't let us grow and expand. Maybe we haven't all, but I have. And we've all been that controlling boss sometimes when we need to step back and let go and let somebody else carry the ball. Go out, make an awesome day. If I can help you in any way, hit me up in the comments below. Share in the comments below what you think of this particular expression and what your experience has been with it. Maybe just one little experience with it. Have you had a positive or a negative experience with it? I think we've all probably had both, right? If you are probably over 10, you've had some kind of an experience with some kind of a ball game sport or with school or with other individuals where you might have thought that they weren't carrying their own weight. They weren't carrying their share of the responsibility of the ball. All right, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where did it come from? Hopefully where and when it came from. This one didn't get any perspective on when it came from, but probably as ball sports. I mean, ball sports have been around for centuries, right? Sports involving balls and ball play and passing ball. So I think just as organized sports and televised sports and as technologies change and more people have been exposed to soccer and football and basketball and tennis and all the other different ball sports, that this expression has just tended to be more and more popular. All right, have an awesome day. Catch you tomorrow. Bye. Woo.